It's just not working for me. And I was just like, well, I will always have my job. And yeah, no, it is so crazy. Like in a blink of an eye, like your life can really just flip. And oh my gosh, y'all, I don't know what to do.
Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Now, the purpose of today's video is to make sure that none of you are bamboozled like that poor young lady in the video we just watched. Now, one of the ways we plan on doing that is by showing you guys how they are hiding and have hidden the fact that 15 million people have lost their jobs and are currently unemployed, and that's since the 2020 lockdowns. Yet, those 15 million people aren't being included in the current unemployment numbers. Why? Why do they do that if not to control the narrative? Now, the stuff I'm about to show you guys on the labor market is absolutely going to blow your mind. Now, on our housing market segment, we're going to go and talk about the slow death of Airbnb. And I'm going to show you guys that some of those owners have had their homeowners insurance close to $12,000. There is an Airbnb insurance catastrophe going on right now that is destroying the cap rates for many of these investors, which is especially evident here in Texas, as roughly 15% of total active listings are from Airbnb. Now, our ending segment, we're going to get a quick update from Mitch on the status of repealing property taxes and the status on our push to expose the state ISDs and their bonds as being the biggest Ponzi scheme in the world. And good evening. Happy Sunday, Mitch. How are you today?
Good. What we're about to see with regard to the Airbnb is going to be extremely interesting.
The insurance has absolutely just blown up in their faces. It's absolutely shocking. And it's going up even more this year as well. So some important stats. And you guys, please don't forget to like the video, comment on the video. The first thing I want to do is establish how many people roughly are in the total labor force. So I went to Wikipedia. Labor force in the United States as of January 2025 is 170.7 million. So that's what we're going to use. You guys see that right here. That's where I'm getting the data. The first data set I want to look at when talking about the labor market and how they're hiding the data is the unemployment rate. And I've taken some notes here. You guys can make a screenshot of this. This is really wonderful information. Now, again, this is the unemployment rate. This updated on March 7th to 4.1%. Now, the first thing that I want to point out here is we've had 5 different recessions to where the unemployment rate was 4.1% or lower. The first one being in 1948 when unemployment was at 3.7. Second one was July of 1953 when unemployment rate was 2.6%. That's crazy. August 1957 was the third, sitting at 4.1%. So the same as what we have now. Fourth one was November 1969 when unemployment was only 3.5%. And the last one was the last recession in February of 2020 where the unemployment rate was only 3.5%. Now, another thing I wanted to point out in this chart is essentially every single recession we've ever gone in has led to skyrocketing unemployment. So odds are if we go into recession, there will be skyrocketing unemployment. And if you're not paying attention, it's likely that you will get bamboozled, which is not good. Now, also interesting, you guys, the average percent as far as unemployment rate for all 12 of those recessions is 4.6%. Now, interesting thing, guys, is let me show you how they're able to remove the 15 million people that have lost their job. So the way they're able to do that is this insane set of data right here called the labor force participation rate. And let me explain how this works. If we're taking 100 people and 10 of those people are unemployed, that would mean that unemployment is 10%. But say 5 out of those 10 people decided to quit and give up and were depressed and decided not to work. What they do is they remove those 5 people out of the equation, which brings the total amount of unemployed to 5, meaning the unemployment rate goes from 10% to 5% just because they figured out a way to use this participation rate. Isn't that absolutely insane? So again, the unemployment rate really doesn't matter if the participation rate is going down at the same time, market is changing rapidly, and it has been changing since 2022. And I put that right here, March 2022. Now, what you guys are looking at is job openings, total non-farm. It peaked in March of 2022 and went down immediately after, because that's when the Fed started doing quantitative tightening. So the quantitative tightening is working, but I want you guys to understand it has been a bit sticky because, and I put it down here, of the PPP loans and the EIDL loans that we got during the lockdowns, which has made the job market incredibly sticky. We are near job openings when we were at pre-pandemic levels. Pre-pandemic, we're at about 7.1 million. So we have roughly 600,000 more jobs than lockdowns, which means all of that money, the trillions of dollars in PPP and EIDL, that's gone and no longer is making a difference. Job openings for construction. A lot of people have pointed to this data and said, because there's so many construction jobs, that's one set of data that is showing that we will not go into recession. But what I want to show you is the trajectory of job openings in construction, which you guys can see here. We're sitting at only 236,000 job openings for new construction. That peaked back in December of 2023 at 453,000. So from December to right now, we've lost 217,000 job openings in construction, or we've lost 47.9%. Mitch, can you articulate to the viewers why you think that they are manipulating the unemployment rate by adding the participation rate? And can you explain to the viewers what you feel like is going to happen with those data points? What's going to happen in 2025 with all of those?
I would use the word alleged unemployment. And the problem is the books are cooked. And Travis did say the right thing, which is they're doing it to control the narrative. They cooked the books with regard to the unemployment. Our numbers are showing and have shown, and we said it on video, well in excess of 10%. And lo and behold, that's where we are. And then it gets worse if you add in the illegal immigration. So whether you put those numbers in or don't put them in easily, that's another, for the sake of conversation, another 5 million people on top. Because not everybody would have a job, they'd be families, et cetera, et cetera. So the point of the matter is the books are cooked. And the CPI in and of itself, we've already proven that it is a lie. So if you look at the unemployment and then you look at the CPI, both of which are not telling the truth, then it can only be but for to control the narrative. So what is the narrative they're trying to control? Well, are we in a recession? Well, no kidding. Yeah, we're in a recession. Why? Because they've changed the CPI definition so many times. Had they gone back to the original definition, we are in a recession. The original definition is X amount of quarters. It's 4 quarters with slower industrial output. Well, that's what we've got. That's what we've had. And what Travis was also showing you is that if you have a percentage of low employment, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that you still can't be in a recession. You can be in a recession with low employment numbers. The problem here is that we're so far away from that because the books have been cooked that nobody can tell what the truth is. And that comes back to what I said initially in this conversation, which is it's alleged unemployment because the books are cooked. There's no way to get to the truth. And the people that are lying have told so many lies, they don't even know what the truth is.
You know, I just realized it's interesting. I remember when they changed the definition of recession and they said, nah, it's not a recession because unemployment's so low. But I just showed the viewers, Mitch, that we had 5 periods of recession where the unemployment rate was as low or even lower. So they changed the definition to control the narrative. Now, what do you anticipate is going to happen into 2025? Do you think that it's going to go out of control, the unemployment? Do you think that there are going to be data revisions? What do you see happening moving into this year?
It's a complex answer. I have my thoughts that I would rather not have. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Because we know of so many problems and we've stated those problems on these videos. So should those problems turn out to be really bad, which they are by virtue of the bond debt, and they're not looked after, and there's only a certain amount of time that you've got a certain window that that opportunity exists, because once it starts spinning, it can't stop. So the appropriate people have to get in front of it in order to make that happen. If that doesn't happen, I believe that what took place in 2007, 2008 is going to look like a picnic.
Well, that's not good. Hopefully people have been listening to us, saving their money, getting out of high risk assets, rebudgeting, no subscriptions, no going out to eat, everything we've been preaching about. Mitch, let's move on now to our housing market update. And you guys, again, this video is going to be brief. We want to do a jam-packed video. So let me start by showing you what I found on the internet regarding insurance and Airbnb. This is from Corey. I believe he's an insurance broker. Short-term rental investing is dying in Texas. I am predicting a flood of Texas short-term rentals will be sold by investors in the next 24 months, thus increasing housing inventory. Why? Insurance companies, so it's not about the law, it's not about the fact that they're illegal, but insurance companies no longer want the risk. Thank God. My annual insurance for my STR in 2023 was $4,900. Fast forward all the way today in 2025, it jumped up to $11,900. That is $7,000 higher. And this is cheap compared to the $19,000 which other carriers are offering. The issue is wind coverage. A lot of STR carriers are not covering wind and hail. If the property is financed, your mortgage lender will require it. Then I went to Investopedia and I went to this article. You guys can go here yourself. Does your homeowner's insurance cover Airbnb? Key takeaways. Most standard homeowners insurance policies exclude short-term rentals. I wonder how many investors, Mitch, have these Airbnbs that have no proper insurance coverage. Like they think they're insured, but they don't, especially in these high natural disaster areas. Airbnb does offer a $1 million policy coverage per rental, but there are coverage restrictions, and I've heard it's extremely expensive. Some specialty policies exist to help insure against the unique risks posed by short-term rentals. Be sure to review your local laws, since some states may require additional liability insurance for your short-term rentals. Here's another article right here. I'm not going to go into this too much. The title is, Here's Why Not Having an Airbnb Insurance Provider Could Cost You Big. And it goes into some really, really great stuff. But the bottom line here is it's getting extremely expensive just to own Airbnb. And a lot of times you have to get business insurance. Now, let me show you guys what that's already doing here in Texas. This actually blew me away. I wasn't aware of this to this extent, Mitch, but this is a website called AirDNA. And what I want you guys to pay attention to, well, first of all, there's in Texas, in these areas right here. So it's not covering the whole state, but the main metropolitans, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Houston areas. So far, what I want to show you guys is there's roughly 23.6 thousand STR listings. And now that could be the whole home, that could be a room, but regardless, there's 23.6 thousand listings, of which for sale are 15. You guys see right here, look at 15.3 thousand properties for sale right now. Look at this, all this right here. 15.3 thousand Airbnb houses are on the market. Do you guys think that they're on the market because they're so profitable and the cash flow is so great? Or do you think they're on the market because the cap rates are absolutely destroyed? I also went to the housing inventory in Texas. Now, this is just for existing. The total active listings in the entire state, I just showed you info that was not entire state, is 105,000, which means roughly almost 15% of total active listings right now, before there's this flood of inventory, 15% is from Airbnb. Mitch Vexler, in your infinite wisdom, is investing in Airbnb a smart idea in 2025? Why or why not?
No. And in order to answer that question, we have to talk about something that, as far as I know, isn't being talked about anywhere. Why are the insurance companies raising premiums, in many cases, double in 12 months? And as a percentage basis, it has very little to do with the natural disasters that have occurred. What people aren't understanding and is not being talked about is that the yield on the float, it's the float that the insurance companies use, depending on how that insurance company is set up, but it's the float that they use to make outside investments. And that rate of return is necessary in an insurance company. So they make investments to get a rate of return. The problem with the fraud in the system that we've talked about in multiple videos is that you're seeing price to earnings ratios that do not work. They're so far upside down that even the insurance companies, the average yield is only 6%. Well, that's not enough in an insurance company to offset a natural disaster should it occur. And they have occurred. On the overall scheme of things, depending on where that insurance company has written those policies, will dictate how badly they get hurt. Well, if you can't get a rate of return in the market due to the fraud, inflation, which is a fraud, and you have nowhere else to turn, so what do? Well, you create a narrative that says these policies must go up. And how are these policies going up? Well, they depend on the central appraisal district to say, well, here's the implicit value of that house. So the insurance companies look at it and say, well, your central appraisal district said this must be the value. We'll underwrite to that value, knowing full well, as everybody that's watched these videos, that the central appraisal districts have committed fraud. So to the tune, in the last 5 years, of $21.2 trillion, of which in 2024, $450 billion was stolen from the households. So when you understand that the insurance companies are in fact now going backwards, right? So they're trying to fill the void because they can't get a rate of return from the stock market. They can't get a rate of return on their float. So they're trying to fill the void. Well, how do they do it? They just simply say, we're going to jack these prices. So if it costs you $160 a foot to build a new house, and they come in and underwrite that house at $240 a foot based on the fraud that was committed at the central appraisal district, they're able to backfill the void of, in fact, the fraud that has been created at both the central appraisal district and, in truth, now the insurance companies.
It's a problem. And personally, I don't like Airbnb, but I still want to give a warning to people that do have Airbnb. I responded to a message literally right before I made this video. It was crazy. But someone was converting their FHA property. Basically, they purchased a primary residence, according to them, under an FHA loan, an FHA mortgage. And they're now in the process of taking that property, converting it to an Airbnb, which, okay, whatever. As long as you've lived there for 1 year, then you can do that according to the loan guidelines. But what I want to warn people about is if anyone has converted their primary residence to an Airbnb, understand you're not insured. That property is not properly insured. You're basically you're not telling the lender that it's an Airbnb. You have your existing homeowner's insurance policy. So if anything happens to that property and the insurance company finds out that's an Airbnb, you guys can get ransacked. So in other words, if you own an Airbnb, be careful and make sure it's insured properly. And while you're at it, also, you should probably obey the law. And if you're in, especially the Dallas area, you can't even have an Airbnb.
One major point, incomes on the Airbnb properties are really not that dissimilar to multifamily. If your insurance is doubling and your taxes are being fraudulently induced 100% per year, well, there's simply zero, that your income is going to be able to keep up. And that's happening on multiple different types of properties because of the fraud. And if the income can't keep up, that goes back to Travis's initial question, can Airbnb be a good investment? No, because you're negative leveraged. If you buy an Airbnb and you got a 5 cap, which is happening generally speaking when you put these things on the market, and your cost of money is 7.25, you're negative leveraged by 200 basis points, plus you have insurance coming down your throat and you have taxes coming down your throat, neither one of which make the investment economically viable. This is what has to be done when you understand what a real pro forma looks like. These things are denoted in a real pro forma. Unfortunately, on YouTube, I've seen a whole bunch of these people yipping and yapping. They are completely clueless. And if you listen to them, you will get into big trouble.
I don't know why I was entertaining this group. I'm a part of some Facebook groups because I just want to know what investors are doing. So I responded to one that this was a BRRRR, right? So buy, refinance, cash out, whatever. And he submitted kind of like a loan estimate on this group page on Facebook that showed him doing a refinance. And it was a cash out refinance at a 6.875. So he had a 6.875. He was cashing out. It didn't say the net cash out, but the new loan amount was $140,000. And he's like, what do you guys think about this loan? I'm like, well, there's a 3-year prepayment penalty, and the first 10 years are IO, which means after that, it's going to amortize into a 20-year loan and your payment's going to shoot up. He's like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, did you read it? But my point in saying that is I also mentioned like, hey, man, I hope you got a plan for that money and your cap is going to be like 12% because T-bills, you could still get, I think, short-term for close to 5. Your current interest rate on that money is 6.875. So tell me what you're going to invest in with the 12 cap without risk. He wasn't able to answer that. I wonder how many investors don't even understand cap rate and don't really understand mortgages and how that can keep them trapped. Either way, speaking of fraud, speaking of being trapped, let me go into property taxes. Now, there's 2 things that I want the viewers to know about property taxes. The first one is the fraudulent bond debt. And what we've done is we put side by side 2006 versus 2024. Let's start on the left side, you guys. Remember, the left side is from 2006. And what I want to show you guys is the bond debt in 2006 in Texas, Texas Debt Service skyrocketed. You see this? It's skyrocketing where those arrows are. But what they did is they projected, so their projections moving past 2006. Look at this, massive buy downs in bond debt. They said that by 2044, we're not going to have any bond debt. And by this year in 2025, it was going to be about 1 million. So right here, you see that 1. So in 2025, it's supposed to be 1. But fast forward to 2024 right now, which is where we're at right now, you guys, it's 3.5. And they're doing the same thing. Look at how they're selling the public. Look, bond debt skyrocketing up again. So 2006 skyrocketed up. Oh, we're going to pay it down. Don't worry. Psych, 2024, it's 3.5 times more. And they're doing the same crap as far as projections. Look, how is this going to be paid down? There's no one that's working in the pay downs and the buy downs for this bond debt. So I want you guys first to understand, and so does Mitch, the ISDs and the bond debt is the biggest Ponzi scheme in the world. That's number 1. Number 2, and this is to any lawmaker. I've saw lawmakers trying and attempting to grill an appraiser. It went horribly wrong. But what you guys are seeing right now is how they're gouging us. They are illegally overvaluing our houses, which you guys see on the left. Okay, so let's start on the left here. This is an active listing. Okay, so this was as of today, 3/23/2025. You guys can see that the current market, this is an active market list price of $620,000. Let's go to the right now. You guys can see on the right side is telling us what the county has determined that value is for the property. So the assessment value for 2024, look at this. They're saying, and again, they can't even sell their house for $620,000. But the greed, corruption, and fraud is so out of hand that the county has assessed this house right. And guys, again, lawmakers, this is active. This is case closed. Okay, this is proof right here. They're saying $813,000. You guys, the difference, and I put that right here, the minimum difference, because they haven't even sold the house at $620,000. I'm taking $620,000, but they haven't sold it at $620,000. This means the county has overvalued their property by $193,112. When we multiply that by the tax rate of 2.269%, that means that the county is robbing this homeowner fraudulently of $4,381 per year. Those are the 2 things I want you guys to remember. Having said that, Mitch, can you give us an update on repealing property taxes and how's it going with exposing the ISDs? In other words, is Musk calling you yet? Do we got one-on-one relationship with Musk or anyone that's paying attention to what we're talking about? What's going on?
Musk yet? No. But before we get into that, everybody that's out there can double check me. But if I'm not mistaken, in 2021, Airbnb was 260. I saw last week that it was about 128. Just to give you an idea, so those who are thinking about investing in Airbnb, go check the stock and see what it's doing, and that'll tell you whether or not you should even contemplate it. As far as what is happening on the real estate tax side, a spreadsheet was delivered to Helen Kerwin, coincidentally yesterday morning, and Travis and I are going to do a video on it. But again, the layers of the onion are even worse. And what I found was multiple Texas entities, and again, this goes across the United States, but multiple Texas entities that are associated with the teachers and the teachers agency, the TEA. And We've even found entities associated with them that have their hands out and collect money, yet 0 cents goes to any child. So the situation is getting worse and worse, and all of it ends up in bond fraud. And we're going to expose all of that, what we just sent to Helen, probably within a couple days.
Okay. Now, if you guys want to know what Mitch and I are talking about, if you're a property owner and you want to make a difference with this whole fraudulent system, don't forget, you guys, go to the Empowerment Center. The link is in this description. And here's what you're going to find. You're going to find this homepage with my goofy looking face here. Not sure why I did that. You're going to scroll down to this free course here by Mitch Vexler. You're going to click that and you're going to take it and you're going to learn all about what's going on with property taxes. And while you're at it, don't forget, I have a new course. I released this morning. This course is going to teach you guys how to use the math to find the deal. And guess what, you guys? It is free. But this course will help even if you're a realtor, an investor, and again, most importantly, future owners go from emotionally based purchasing decisions or professionally based cheerleading to understanding the math like an expert analyzer. That is our gift to you. Now, other than that, guys, don't forget, comment below. Let us know what you learned. Let us know what your concerns are. And if you guys want the property tax course, or if you guys want me to send you the market analysis course, comment below and say, I want the market analysis course, or I want the property tax course. Do that, and I will send you guys the links. Now, other than that, you guys, happy Sunday. Hope you guys have a great week tomorrow. And if you guys are out there investing in real estate, you guys already know we wish you luck, and we hope you win.